Howdy, folks. I'm Radical Radon, ruthlessly radiating radioactive rays.
I'm Amber.
And here are more radioactive rays for me to radiate everyone with. It's not cool. Not
No.
cool, Radon. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My In-Laws that it was on them to explain to their guests why there weren't any plates for them at my wedding reception? I think the title has all the information in it. I married my husband last weekend after about a year of planning. The ceremony went off perfectly, even with kids in the church. The formal photos weren't delayed. No one got drunk and wrecked anything. No one insisted on bringing their emotional support goat. The only hitch was that my parents invited about 10 extra people without telling us. Not relatives or anything, just friends of theirs that we did not invite since we didn't even know them. I did not notice them at the ceremony, and it wasn't until the reception that there were issues. There was no seating for them. Our best man and groomsmen found a folding table and chairs for them to sit at. There was food, and we went with a buffet. But since we sent the tables to eat by number, and they didn't have a number, they were sent last after everything had been picked over. My in-laws were embarrassed that their friends were being treated this way. I very politely asked them what they expected when they invited people without even telling the people planning and paying for the wedding. They said that we needed to go apologize for their treatment. I said no, that I would, but I would also explain that they had not actually been invited. If they had wanted their guests to be told anything else, that they needed to go and explain. They are upset with me. My husband has my back 100%, and I think that I could have been more gracious, but I also think that it should not have fallen on us to deal with it. Alright, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, they invited people without notifying the people who were planning and paying for it. What did they expect? Venues only have so many seats. A lot of weddings have seating charts. How do you expect someone to just magic seats for 10 extra people?
Well, I mean, I think there are some cultures that apparently that this is actually pretty common. So this might be a cultural divide, but this is not probably a situation where OP was expecting this at the very least, right? And I think that if they had expected that the in-laws should have told them that they were planning on inviting extra people, right? So again, this isn't in a culture where it's acceptable to have extra uninvited guests, but there are certainly cultures where it is apparently just fine, and that it's expected that you're going to have twice as many people or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It doesn't sound like that's at all what Opie and her husband were going for.
Oh, yeah.
And from the sounds of it, it seems like they probably had a seating chart, there were specific places for people to sit and whatnot. So it's very poor planning on the in-laws' parts to assume they could just fit a bunch of people in and then expect them to get premier treatment.
Yeah. And again, if they had just told OP and their husband well ahead of time, they could have at least had a little extra for the buffet and another table set up, right?
Or they could have just said flat out, no, we're not taking extra guests, because
Yeah.
that should be something that the couple decides on.
Yeah, well, it also seems like they were fine with the people arriving. They just didn't know them, so they hadn't sent out invites to them because they weren't even aware that they were people who were going to be at the wedding. That's kind of how I read that. It doesn't seem like OP was angry that they weren't there, that they were there. It just seems like they were we just didn't know they were going to be here. We would have had tables for them if we had.
Well, all I mean is that is additional cost, and they
Yeah.
may not want to swing it, so.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly acceptable too. If this is something they didn't want to do, then the parents should have not brought them along, period. But I also don't understand why it seems like OP's parents-in-laws are setting this up with OP in particular.
Right, why aren't they talking to their son about it and trying to get him? And that's, I think maybe it goes back to stereotypes of women being the ones in charge of placating people and all the hostessing stuff.
I mean, that's actually a good point. It might be something like that. To me, it just seems like this is a situation where, I know that OP is now part of this family, right? But honestly, when it's pretty customary for people to kind of deal with their parents in a relationship, right? And that's not to say that you will never have any kind of overlap, because you will, of course, but it's, I think, more falling on OP's husband at this point in time to talk to his parents and get them off of OP's back.
Mm-hmm.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Frito's rule says, who in the world invites 10 extra people to a wedding on their own initiative? Not the jerk, and what in the world? But, question, your buffet sent tables by number? Was that more of a crowd control thing? I just asked because every wedding / bar mitzvah or buffet that I've been to was just, it's an open line, go and get it. And OP replies, more or less, it was easier to have 20 people at the buffet than 200. So it sounds like this was quite a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
200 people. I'm surprised if they had 200 people that they didn't have like 210 worth of buffets. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Helping My Niece Against My Sister's Wishes? My niece, a 16-year-old female, has been working for a year and saving up so that she can buy a car when she gets her license. She does driving lessons every chance that she can get, as well as drives with family members whenever possible. When she started working, she opened a bank account and her mother was on the account. She's a 39-year-old female. Last week, after her lesson, she went to pay and her card was declined. I was there and I was able to pay for it. It was not an issue. She checked her online banking and found out that her mother had transferred all of her money to her brother, a 19-year-old male, bank account. She was understandably upset and felt defeated, since this isn't the first time that they have taken from her to give to her brother. I offered to be there while she spoke to her parents. They tried to play it off like he needed it more, and it wouldn't tell her why, and turned into a big fight between them, where I told her to pack her bag and she's staying with me and my husband for a few days. This resulted in a huge fight between me and my sister. Now onto what might make me the jerk. On Friday, I took her to a different bank and we opened a new account for her with me as the signature on it to make sure that my sister can't access her money again. We also spoke with her boss and they have changed her pay details so that her money goes to her new account. I put $300 in it just to help jumpstart her savings again, which caused my sister to have another go at me. All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. And honestly, I wish there was more legal recourse for kids in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is literal theft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really unfortunate that if a parent has their name on the account, they can just withdraw money at will.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are two parts in here that make this not theft. One, the parent's name was on the account, and so she can certainly take money out of the account. So that's a real risk when it comes to having another name on an account, because it becomes impossible to steal money if it's part of your account.
It's not legally theft, but it's morally theft.
It's morally theft. I 100% agree on that. I don't think that she should have been doing this. The only reason why her name was on that account was because she was a minor and needed an adult to set up that account.
Yeah, and so it's really gross what her mom is doing, and 100% OP is in the right here. This girl deserves to have money that's hers and not have it stolen for her brother.
Yeah, I certainly think that I do not object to OP doing this. The only thing that I think OP did and the daughter might have done wrong in this situation is tell the mother that they had the second account. Just throw an extra 10 in the other account every once in a while so it looks like it's not like empty or something like that, right?
I don't know. I think the mom deserves to know that everyone is tired of her nonsense. And honestly, I'd be tempted to, because it sounds like a lot of this was birthday and Christmas money, talk to the other relatives who gave money and be like, do you know what my sister did? She literally stole all that money that you gave to niece. It might not change the sister's mindset because it sounds like the brother is the golden child, but it might at least get the rest of the family to band around the niece.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a really good idea, and I think that explaining the situation to as many people as possible is going to really not do so well for the girl's mother here. I think that OP is looking out for this person who's in a vulnerable place. She's, not able to trust her parents to do the right thing, and I think that's very problematic. Certainly, there are cases where I think that parents might need access to funds for one reason or another for a kid. But this certainly does not seem like one of those cases.
Right. And again, like they're stealing it to give to her brother. They're not like, it wasn't like, oh, well, you have the school expense we have to pay, and so we're
Mm-hmm.
going to pull it from your account or something like that.
Yeah, and it already sounds like she's paying for a lot of her own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
given that she's paying for her driver's license. And I think that that shows a lot of initiative. So hopefully she's able to get that. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Cassowary32 says, not the jerk. Can you talk to your nephew directly about returning his sister's money? Does he know it was stolen? And OP replies, we can ask, but honestly, it's not likely that he will give it back. Could you imagine actually having this be in the situation where you're given stolen money and not want to do the right thing and give it back?
I mean, it sounds like classic golden child, so he probably thinks he's entitled to his sister's hard-earned money.
Yeah. And Merrick Stumx says, literally, for each time you would be purchasing a gift for the nephew or sister, instead just transfer that amount to the niece until she recoups her losses. And OP replies, that's actually an idea. And I mean, I don't actually think that's a terrible idea. I think that's just going to cause a deeper rift.
Well, yeah, but again, I really think that sister and nephew need to realize how wrong this is, and the husband, wherever he is, and all of this. Like,
Yeah.
they all need some, like, if you're going to give a gift to the husband, too, take the money out of his, and just let them all know you're not going to stand for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. And Pleasant Koala 147 says, not the jerk, this is financial abuse. Just out of curiosity, how much money was taken? And OP replies, I just asked her and it was around $750. It includes money for birthdays, Christmas, and what she had saved from work. So they almost took $1,000 from this poor kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and imagine working at, some minimum wage job, saving so hard, and then having your parents steal everything to hand off to your brother.
And Zola Saya says, I'd make a complaint to the police. Theft is theft no matter who is stealing from you. Her parents are awful. And OP replies, we aren't actually sure if it can be reported since my sister is signature on my niece's account. I will be speaking to my niece to see what she wants to do. Alright folks, and our last letter is titled, Am I a jerk for kicking my 72-year-old mother-in-law out of the house at night because she threw my things away? I'm a 36-year-old female and I live with my husband, a 41-year-old male. I have a decent relationship with my mother-in-law. Compared to a lot of the horror stories I hear from friends, she's quite sweet and warm. She is, however, a little over-controlling, overprotective. I'm not sure the exact word, but she has a very strong idea about things and no sense of boundaries. For example, when she stays at our house, she takes over the kitchen completely and insists on cooking all of our meals. She cooks wonderfully, but she won't let me help her at all, and she puts everything away in the wrong places and then insists that her way is more logical. She only really comes for holidays though, and I do like her a lot, so I don't mind putting up with these mild annoyances. I'm currently pregnant with our little girl, who will be born in a few months. This is a miracle. I really didn't think that it would happen, especially so late, but we got lucky. When my mother-in-law heard, she was super excited, and she would come over to help us get ready for the baby. She offered to stay for the next 6 months or so to help out, because my husband and I both work long hours, and it will be hard to handle the baby on top of this. She is also pretty emotionally invested in this, because she truly sees herself as part of our family. She arrived a few days ago and set herself up. Then she started with the cleaning. I like collecting things from garage sales and such, things like little sculptures and books and baskets, stuff a lot of people would consider utter junk. Our house is definitely overstuffed, but it's reasonably tidy and doesn't seem like a hoarder's house or anything. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, likes everything surgically clean. Yesterday, I came home from work to find the house like a war zone. She went through my cabinets and cleared out everything that she considered junk and had apparently made several trips to Goodwill before I got home. I was really angry, and I asked her why she would do this. She said that the house has to be tidy for the baby, and that it would be dangerous for the baby to be in a cluttered house. She then took the next huge bag of stuff and tried to walk out the door, and I kind of lost it. And I told her that she could get out right now. She was shocked that I was serious, and she doesn't have anywhere to go, and it's so late. It was about 9:30. I booked her a hotel room and I called a taxi. My husband came home an hour later, and when I told him what happened, he was furious with me. He says I disrespected his mom and was ungrateful for everything she's trying to do for us. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. It wasn't like Opie just stranded mother-in-law out in the dark by herself. She got her a hotel room and a taxi.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is a husband problem. Like, husband needs to be talking to his mom and setting boundaries with her and not letting her walk all over OP in the house.
I think that the mother-in-law does have some point, and I'm not saying that she doesn't. A cluttered house can be a hazard for a child, and certainly, like, if things are to the point where there are sharp objects and dangerous things kicking around, then that can be a really bad environment for a kid to be in. But I don't know the situation.
From the comments, it sounds what OP says is that the things were in cabinets.
Yeah.
So as long as the cabinets are closed in a way that a small child can't open them, it shouldn't be as much of an issue. But again, even if there are a bunch of objects laying around, you don't just get to throw out someone's possessions.
No. I'm not saying that you do.
Like, you sit down, you have a conversation, and you're like, hey, you have knives lying around on the floor. That's kind of dangerous to a small child.
Yeah. And I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I wasn't trying to say that she was entitled to throw OP stuff out. I just meant that she might have a point if things are dangerous for the kid. But you're absolutely right that this needs to be a conversation as opposed to a unilateral decision. And certainly, yeah, that's really what this boils down to. And I agree. I think that you're right in the respect that this needs to be something that her husband established a long time ago. Boundaries and healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many of these stories are involving unhealthy boundaries, you know?
Right, exactly. And so I just think, like, she acted completely inappropriately. If she had an issue, she should have talked to OP about it. And you cannot throw out someone else's stuff legally, you know. And so the husband's lucky that OP is not, like, you know, charging the mom for theft or something like that.
Yeah, well, she also might be able to go to Goodwill and talk to them and get her stuff back. There's that possibility. I don't know how that works. And I mean, I don't know if they would be obligated to give it back, but they might also be willing to give it back. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. So I'm not going to go through, there are a lot of comments here, but I do want to read this one from OP. OP replies, okay, I'm just going to give you all a list of my junk and you can decide if I'm a hoarder. A walk-in closet with a lot of thrifted clothes and some that I altered myself. 4 quilts in said walk-in closet. An antique wooden desk with a typewriter that is admittedly taking up space, but it's just gorgeous. A lot of wall art, nothing of it matches, which my mother-in-law hates, but it's hung properly and intentionally. She threw away art that was hanging on walls, 2 shelves of fancy china in the dining room, which I'm never going to use, but again, it's on display for a purpose. A coin collection in Ziploc bags in my closet, 2 ugly end tables, several rugs from a garage sale that are in use, not just rolled up in a corner, 2 bookcases of books. You can never have too many books, and fine, books laying around on the coffee table, kitchen table, and couch. A few shelves in said bookcase with family memorabilia and such, house plants, a lot of throw pillows that don't match at all, a tree sculpture with Christmas ornaments and pictures hung on it. Lamps on every table, a geode collection, a spice rack with a lot of spice bottles, too many dishes. It fits in 2 kitchen cabinets though, normal house things. She gave away a bag or 2 of my clothes that supposedly aren't practical, a box of books, a bunch of paintings, some pillows, some dishes, and a whole drawer of my rocks.
So it seems like literally, I mean, no matter what the case, mother-in-law shouldn't have done this, but also it's all just subjective, her going through and taking the stuff she doesn't like of OP's. Like,
yeah.
None of that is harm. Oh, child might find OP's impractical clothes.
Yeah, the only thing in there that I think might be slightly dangerous are the rocks and geodes. And I mean, those would potentially pose a choking hazard if a kid got them, but I'm not again saying that OP should get rid of those because as long as they're out of the reach of a toddler, they should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a carpet isn't going to impact the health and welfare of a child. In fact, if anything, that's probably going to be all right because if they fall and land on a carpet, that's going to be much softer than falling on the hard ground.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, again, like the things that OP listed out here really don't sound terribly dangerous, and it doesn't even sound like the house was super that cluttered either. Certainly, it probably was cluttered to some degree, but doesn't sound like overly cluttered.
And I like how she's only getting rid of OP's stuff and not OP's husband's stuff.
Well, her husband might not have a whole lot of stuff.
But yeah, but still, like, it's easy for Hubby to be like, you're being mean to my mom when he's not losing anything.
Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But if we take a look at our house.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't have the majority of the stuff in our house.
All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. And Amber, she's got an extra special Jovial Bobstein joke. It's probably the best one in the book.
No, it's not. That one I'm saving for later. Clerk, would you like to make a donation to the blood bank, sir? Vampire. No, just browsing.
That makes sense. I mean, if I were a vampire, then I would also browse the blood bank. And I have Earl Grey. I just realized it's yet another vampire joke. How many vampire jokes are in this book, Amber? You gave us the last.
Counted.
You asked the last time I asked, and you were like, "Oh, the last book is only like 10% or something like that." In this book, I'm sure it's like 50% with werewolves. Werewolf. I want a breakdown of each monster type in this book, Amber. That's that. I want that on my desk by Monday. Amber just groaned and said no. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday. We made it to another special Sunday. And you know what makes it special? You make it special. And Amber, she makes it special.
And you?
I do. I don't know about that. But we do have some special moral advice and or guidance from Amber potentially. And please have it in the form of a nursery rhyme.
Opie's mother-in-law, Belle, sat in a hotel because she gave away things without getting Opie's say.
I think that works. I think that works pretty well. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.